Hey guys, it's Scott here, and welcome back to another Adventures in the Ink. Joining me as always are my co hosts,
It's Mike.
And Matt,
and as you can see, we're trying something a little bit different this time, so we'll see how it works out. But for today's session, we are going to be talking about the latest Into the Inklands championships that just finished up. I unfortunately did not get the opportunity to compete, but both Matt and Mike did. So we're going to sit down with both of them and find out exactly how their tournaments went and exactly what they thought overall of the entire tournament experience. So we'll start with you, Matt. How did you like the experience in general?
yeah, I really enjoyed it. Being a top owner, it's always fun going to other stores and seeing how they handle stuff. Um, to learn new tricks and stuff. So I went to Terrain Factory in Ann Arbor, and I really enjoyed it. I had a fun experience there, and it's also nice after going to a few local events anyway to seeing the same people I played and met at other stores and seeing them again at these big championships is always really fun.
hmm
And what about you, Mike?
Yeah, it was fun. I think um, overall the experience it was what I was expecting. I've been to a couple like pre-release tournaments and things like that. I would say it's about the same level of competitiveness as I've seen in those for Magic the Gathering. And yeah, I just want to echo what Matt said. It was cool seeing some people that I had met by going to the league at that store before, and also seeing some people that actually came to our home store before. Shout out to Mark. We saw him there, chatted with him a little bit. Matt had the opportunity to school him, I think. You beat him 2-0.
Yeah, no, I beat him
Or was it 2-1? Yeah,
two
he took one.
one.
Yeah, yeah. He's one of the
Yeah,
three people that
yeah
took
he
one game off you.
he flat out said that if he went 2-0 in if he lost twice in the match, he was gonna go home that day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But overall, it was great. I mean, yeah. We have I think I have some critiques. I think Matt has some too, but we'll get into those in a little bit. But overall, I recommend it highly to anyone. Um, just go out and play. I mean, it's unless cost is a huge issue, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the Niking. So what cost a lot? The average price I saw for the was $25. And so it gave a chance for a lot of people to do a good number of these events. With the cooking you saw and pointed out that a lot of the people we played on Sunday, which
The
was the last day for
mm-hmm.
them to run event. So we encountered a lot of people who already had playmat and did it.
Yeah, they had. I think the first person I played said he'd played in three prior, and he'd gotten second place in one of them. I don't think he top forward in the other ones. The second guy I played was playing with the runner-up championship or the runner-up Matt, so he obviously had been to a few before this. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I would say I would estimate probably a quarter to a third of the people that were there either had a stitch or had been to at least three other tournaments.
yeah. When I played Mark in the third round and I beat him, he pulled out his mat and like kind of jokingly like, "Okay, you won it." Um, and my first opponent, I someone told me he was in the top eight in the tournament the night before. And then when I got there at like 9 a.m., there was another person there who was trying to get a refund because he got second place the night before at the other local top in Ann Arbor,
mm-hmm.
and he was like, "I'm too tired for today." So a lot of the and also like these six cards are like going for like $700. Like I understand why people are trying to do as many of these events as possible.
Yeah, it's a non insignificant amount of money, much more than I was expecting. Um,
It's pocket change. We all got it.
I mean, yeah, I didn't need to make a car payment or for the next
No,
couple of months. I don't know.
no,
But I
no,
could,
we're good. We can just
I,
order it.
yeah, I mean, like I could sell the six I got and pay rent.
hmm Yeah, it's a yeah. I think it's exciting. I don't know if the next set championships will be as traveled to. We'll see. I mean, how much the excitement and how much the scarcity mentality and FOMO continues to like drive people to like, there were people who were setting up like going to 4 events was a small amount. Other people were like, oh, I wanted to go 5 or 6, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it depends on. Really, I think part of it depends on the character. I think some people card more character. Um,
Like as far as the Stitch Rockstar versus, I don't know, Cinderella or something.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Do
I
you
just
also
thought
think sorry, do you think it also could be because this was the first store championships?
definitely because of the first one, but based on how well the tickets are selling, if the next kit only have 4 enchanted again and only about the same number of swords participating, I think a lot of people are going to try to do. They're going to have a lot of the same hype because now people are like, oh, the last one went for a ton of money. This one is probably also going to go for a ton of money.
Yeah. Do you expect there to be more? So, I guess maybe this is a question worth discussing. Do you think that based off of our experience, and granted, we both only went to one store championship, that there will be a net positive like increase in players for the next store championship and set championship, or do you think there will be a decrease because maybe some of the more casual players who got turned off by the people who were curb stomping them, for lack of a
That
better term?
that's hard to say. Um, I have not seen a lot of people complaining about it online about going to the event and getting curb stomped and it's ruining the game for
Mm-hmm.
them. Um, I think that a lot of people get kind of like burnt themselves out going to these, so maybe people won't be trying as hard. I, but also like with every new set, we're seeing an increase in players. So
Mm-hmm.
in like hopefully the player pool is gonna be bigger after the next set. So hopefully a lot of the newer players try their hand at competing. So
Yeah.
it would be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see, but I imagine it's probably gonna be about the same. It also depends on honestly how well the next set played competitively. Like I think Into the Inkland did a really good job competitively. Especially compared to how the game was in Light of the Bloodborne. So we're probably gonna see a growth unless people that get super burnt out from the challenge event. And it also depends on when they do the Into the Inkland like Ultra's return set championship.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine it would be in July if they keep pace for 3 months.
Yeah, so that don't think there's any challenges going on in July.
Yeah, I mean there might be one, but they haven't sold tickets to it yet, right? Because they've only sold tickets to Chicago, and then the two on the same weekend, one in Lille, and one in Atlanta. So yeah, I imagine they wouldn't try to compete with themselves, but yeah,
Hopefully.
if there's a big tournament, the following weekend, maybe people won't try to burn themselves out on something that is more widely available the um, than the set challenge or the challenge events. So
All right. So now that you brought it up, you mentioned it already, Matt. You got one of the Stitch cards. So congratulations once again on getting first place at the Stir tournament.
Yeah, I'm super glad I went to a different store because it always looked so catchy when a store owner wins the prize.
yeah, yeah. Matt won't want to brag, but I'll just say that there was very good competition. I talked to the owner of the store, and I think he said the total count was 38 players after drops. So there was 6 rounds of Swiss, and then an additional 3 for the top 8. And Matt only dropped three games total. But yeah, I mean, obviously, people always ask this, and so Matt, I want to ask you: would you contribute like what percentage of your success would you contribute to luck versus preparation versus like just card playing talent?
So that's hard to say. Like I had some matches that I felt like would luck. A lot of the like the first matches when you don't know when your opponent what deck your opponent playing. that kind of luck. Like when you're doing the first mulligan, and like I had one match that I felt like I got really lucky. It was my fourth match. I was playing against the guy you lost to round one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had the best opening hand against his deck, and he was playing Sapphire Ruby,
Yeah.
and I was playing Emerald Teal, like a aggro Discord hybrid. It's been popping up a lot on Reddit, and that's kind of where I found the deck with. Um, we and so I was able to go full aggro, the very low to the ground. So like turn one, I went Kurt Merfolk. Turn two, I went Mr. Mead. Turn three, I went Mr. Mead again and Captain Hook. So and the game was over by turn five.
Yeah, that would be like just about the turn that maybe he could get into and be prepared if he got perfect ramp.
And he had no and yeah, and he did not have a be prepared in hand. So
I,
like every
I
game with again
I have to
for me in
I
that
have to
game.
ask you because the first three games I played against him, so I went 1-2 against him. I won the first game and lost the following two, and it was a mirror match. And he every game turn one was popsicle, turn two was one jump ahead, turn three was Hiram. Did he have that in any of the games that he played you?
Yeah. He got Hiram out. Um but like I said, like he come out the earliest he can get him he got him out like turn three, but at that point like I already had too much and he just was not drawing answers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's like I could not get the consistency off. I think I only got one jump ahead on turn two, which kind of is key if you want to like just take off, like with the Ruby Sapphire deck. You want to get that Hiram engine started, or get out your Grammatalas and just kind of like get cards that replace themselves and develop some board presence. But I think out of the 6 rounds I played, I got it maybe 3 games total.
And then to continue answering your original question about kill versus luck.
Mm-hmm.
Um game round two, I felt like it was very much a skill. I was playing against a Amber aggro deck,
Okay.
and that was very much a tough deck. Not a tough matchup when I was going second. Both, yeah, when I was going second. So I had a real question of like, how do I want to use my Captain Hook?
Mm-hmm.
Did I want to throw him away early on, or did I want to keep him? And I made the risky call of so turn one I played Captain Hook.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then hit turn two, he quested with a Kita and had uh, King. I forget what he had standing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I couldn't decide if I wanted to take out that Kita or if I wanted to wait for him to turn the other guy sideways, with I think had a free willpower, um, and take that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided not to take out the Kita, and then he immediately tipped the Kita the next turn. And I thought I messed up there, but I ended up like making a bunch of small trades and that's able to come out on top that game. Mostly because like every time he played Baru that game, the hook that I didn't sacrifice early on to that Kita to cook out every single Baru he played, which allowed my other characters Actec to kick out his other characters. And also in that um and then in the first game of that I also got super lucky. I maybe luck being kill, but somehow every time no, it was luck. So I had Ultra out, and I had Ultra the Saber of all, and I had 3 Retrospective Dawn in hand. So every time he played a character, I just gone Ultra. I had Ultra King Retrospective Dawn, and that destroyed his board.
Yeah, that's like it feels so good and so bad at the same time when you get that let the storm rage on with Ursula. It's like, oh, I get 2 cards, potentially 2 of your guys are gone. It's just such a huge swing.
And then, but yeah, so depending on each match, there's a little bit of luck, a little bit of balance.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you feel like you put in more preparation compared to the people you played against, or do you feel like
Not necessarily.
okay?
No, a lot of the people I played against went to multiple tournaments and played with those decks. Like I said, my first opponent was went top 8 the night before. But I guess he made some changes to the deck, and when I went back the next week, to go to the local league night at that tour, um, they were talking about her and saying that they felt like she had overtuned her deck.
Mm, yeah.
And then one of the guys I fought in the top 8, the first opponent I fought in the top 8, I played him about a month before. Um, maybe no, it was in March. I played against him in a 1K,
Mm-hmm.
and he was playing the same deck with very similar. So I felt like a lot of the people probably had about the same amount, if not more, prep time.
Okay. Yeah, I was joking with you on that Sunday that I was like, this is just part of your anime, arch rival nemesis story arc.
It it was. I don't want to say it like that, but it was satisfying to see my growth because the
Yeah.
um because yeah, the last few events I did before this one, went like middle of the pack. I went quite either fourth or fifth, and they were much smaller events.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they were nice to actually do really well. And like yeah, like I only lost 3 matches. Like I didn't like yeah, so like only
Yeah.
like 3 individual games
Games. Yeah.
throughout the day.
So your deck sounds like it was pretty good on the draw also then.
Yeah, I got lucky with the draw. I got really lucky when we were playing against Mark. So I had Prince John as my main draw engine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got in one turn, I drew 6 cards because I had 2 Prince Johns out. So I played the father. Yeah, I played Fire Tuck. So that did call the card from my opponent's hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 2 draws from that. I quested with Daisy, got 2 draws from that, and then I drew a sudden chill. So I had one of the Prince John being a sudden chill. I got 2 more cards from that, and then Mark called it a game then, and we moved on to game 2.
Oh, yeah. It's always like nerve wracking when you see someone like if they leave an Ursula Deceiver Ball on board and you can't deal with it, or a Prince John, you're like, if they've got the nuts, I'm just yeah, out of luck for this game, and yeah, well, that's really cool. That's yeah, I always like talking to people when they win to think like how much was luck, how much was skill versus preparation, and um, I mean in any card game there has to be some amount of luck because you could have gotten
Yeah,
unlucky or someone else maybe they got more unlucky than we realized when you're playing against them.
yeah,
But
exactly, and that's why normally the games are bet 2 out of 3. It's to factor that in that luck chance.
mm-hmm.
Which is also part of the reason why in the new 2 game format they're doing for the challenge event, they're having the tiebreaker one be the second one gives a little bit more weight for the strength of schedule type games
Mm-hmm.
because that one's a little bit more kill based because you know what your opponent is bringing to the table at that point.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like my very first match was against the Mufasa deck, and I honestly I did not realize that was a thing going into the tournament.
Oh yeah.
I completely missed that Mufasa deck was the king in the meta right now.
Mm,
Because every time I played the one on Pixie Born, I'm like, that's a weird combination, and then immediately did not think about it.
yeah. Well, I mean, if
Uh,
you can, I mean, it sounds like you went under, right? The Mufasa deck has a lot of high end, very
mm,
cost effective cards, but you have to survive long enough
yeah,
to get up there.
so I had a very low to the ground deck. Like my highest character was a 5 card character in my deck.
Mm.
And actually, that was the highest costing card in my deck. Period.
That's
Um,
close to the lowest costing in my deck.
yeah, and so I was that able to take out the character they had the Poodles and the Gox when they played them to try to cheapen the bigger characters in, and I was able to discard their hand so they didn't have anything to ink.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got kind of lucky because I was without really knowing what I was going into, I was able to get my engine off before they got settled.
Yeah. Nice. Well, congrats again, Matt. I mean,
Oh,
I
thank
think
you.
I think it's a victory well deserved. You're a really good player, and I think it's satisfying to know that the person who won it all wasn't someone, or at least for that last one, like you also didn't go to 6 or 7, of these events. So it feels like it spreads the love a little bit, even though
I
it's completely, if people have the time and the resources to go to 5 or 6 events, that's fine.
yeah.
But I'm
I
glad that you got something out of it.
Hey, as far as I can tell, only like me and maybe like one other person in the top 8 did not already have a tit.
Yeah, I think that's true because the one guy who you said you played in round 4, he made it to top 8,
Hmm.
and he like I said, I played him first, and he definitely already had a top 4. So yeah,
So now we've talked about what your experience was like at these tournaments. Let's talk about the negative side of the tournaments. What did you not like about them, and what would you change about them?
So one of the things we kind of brought up a little bit, and me and Mike talked about a lot at the event, was the fact that DP, everyone is going to so many of these events, and people, there are a lot of the same people winning these events and getting multiple tit cards. So one of the biggest things I would change, like I think that's the biggest issue is that we the 10 people going to so many. We want to get ideally you want to get the sits into as many in unique hands as possible.
if
So
you
I
care
think
about
just
the
having
growth of the game, or
yeah.
yeah, if
So
you
I
only care about one person's, like your own EV, your expected value, yeah, you don't care about that. But
I honestly think that doing doubling the number of card promos and then just having everyone in the top 8 get a promo. I think that would be I think it still makes them valuable and harder to come by, but it gonna encourage people to go to that event because there's some people like me and Mike who are only just gonna go to one event, get the card, and be done, and then there's other people who are just going to do mo- try to get a whole plate set or to try to get the extra one that they sell to make extra money.
yeah, and I don't know. I think you can. I don't know what the answer to the question is, but would the cards be worth more money if they got into more individual people's hands, or are
No.
they worth more because a few people scooped up a lot of them and are now slowly peeling them off one at a time?
Oh, most definitely. That just makes it economic. That like the let out in the wild, they're all the more valuable they all.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. On the short term scale, yes. I guess I'm wondering, like, long term. Like, so let's say this continues to happen every set championship for the next 2 years, and the casual base, which is usually the one that keeps the game alive, dies off because they don't, just like, like either leagues aren't happening or something else, like, for whatever reason. You could argue that the hyper competitive, like, if there is no community or, like, um, casual base, like the game can and will die off, and then the cards
Yeah.
become, the ones that are printed are valuable because they won't be printed again. But then, a dead game is only worth so much.
Yeah, and that's always hard to say, but knowing it basically like the let in the wild, the more valuable it's gonna be. Um, but and that's always it's weird. How it basically like how much should the company care about the secondhand market when thinking about this? Like how big of a difference is it gonna be for them if they print full promo card or if they print 8? And because the thing is, you want to get people in the game, you want to get people excited about it, you want people to have the cool card in their collection that they show the friends like, oh, look at this card I got. Because that's how you get people to keep coming back to an event.
So why don't they just go the route of the set champ, or not the set championship, the challenge events, and just print out one promo for everyone who enters, and the stores
Uh,
have to return, you know, and just say, like, oh, you can play. I mean, I guess then the
that bakery,
stores would have to have
that
some other prizing, but
that bakery, what they're doing for the OP kit, the organized trade kit.
oh, like the yeah.
Yeah.
So like
So like they're
the
already doing that kind of. Um. So yeah, I think that doubling it to the top 8 is a good way because you still want them to be earned. You want the players to feel like they accomplished something.
sure,
Um.
yeah,
But like the issue is not Yeah, the issue is trying to stop. Let's have that feel bad moment when it's the same people in that area winning the same prizes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And
because you know, no matter what, there's only going to be 4 people who are going to get this. So,
and also the fact that like you had a lot of these you had to sign up like a month or a couple weeks beforehand. So
mhm.
people did not know when they're signing up for the event, like, oh, am I going to get lucky event one, or at the last event I'm going to get lucky at?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing about like we're talking about luck. It's the matchup you get in a tournament is a huge determination. Like you got unlucky and got a mirror match round one.
Yeah, against a guy who had, and the second guy I played against too was also skilled enough to, get top 2 in a previous tournament. So it's yeah, and then like I don't want to. So I sorry, I didn't say this earlier. I went 2-3-1. um, so I lost my first two, and then won the next two, then lost the fifth one, and then tied the sixth one. So uh, yeah, it was my experience was it felt a little bit bad winning after you had 2 losses because everyone that you beat has already also has 2 losses, so you're just sending them home with no chance of prizing. And um, yeah, there's definitely some luck. I told you the following week that I think I was very inexperienced on the deck, so there were multiple play lines that I'm sure I missed. But yeah, after I got those 2 losses, I started playing into more aggro decks, and I got lucky that I got those 2 wins after I got the initial 2 losses because um, yeah, those were the games that I hit my perfect 1, 2, 3 turns. Um, so I don't know, like luck is a factor, and the way you eliminate luck in anything or variance, not eliminate, but like you regress to the mean, is you just increase the number of occurrences of something happening. So that's why people would probably say, well, it's not a bad thing to go to multiple tournaments because you could just get unlucky in your first two,
Yeah.
and then you play in your third, and then um, so yeah.
So
I Go ahead.
yeah. Oh, so another king could that be like, oh, like because like it's a hard thing. It's not a simple truth and how to stop people from like winning all the prizes. Um, because like, you can't like, oh, you won this event, but you can participate. So like, if someone made it in the top four and got a sit card, they they could be like, oh, I want to try again just to get the play mat. Or if someone came in second in the tournament, like, well, I really want the championship play mat, so I want to do another event for that. It's also like, okay, so if they did to get one of these other prizes, so they did not cake it, or
Yeah.
to to Ravenberg and Miwei that say like, hey, you got top four in the previous event. We notified the store and played your Miwei account. You don't qualify for the Discord again. Like that gonna upset the player base and kind of and like that's not good feedback for a growing game.
Yeah, I think that's not necessarily the right thing, but maybe have like a what if you had like an extreme lottery or something where it's like they knew that people would be winning 2, 3, 4 of these, and if a person on the who wins the second, is about to win their second stitch and say, oh, we'll filter that. Yeah, I don't know, because the stitches are worth so much, you wouldn't want to do that. But if you filter it down to someone lower, but say, hey, you get entered into this elite pool, or you get an automatic invite to nationals if you get 3,
Yeah.
or something like that, where it's like, because for me, sorry, side note, I wanted to go to Chicago, but I'm on the wait list still, and I'm not traveling to Atlanta. It's a little too far for me with 2 kids and a wife to just leave that far away for that long. Um, so that's the only one that's close enough to me that I could feel like I'm still within driving distance to my house, and I couldn't get in. So now, there's really not a chance for me to go to nationals, and I don't think I'm going to play in the day zero event. The only other closest one would be Toronto. So it would be cool if there was some other way to kind of like win your way in, but
Yeah, and I would we listening to some of our older episodes, and when we recorded the when they announced it into the Inkland Championship, that I interpreted based on what they said from previous statement that these event was gonna have people be qualified for nationals. But I don't know if they changed their mind or if we just had bad information when we recorded. But yeah, so like the only way to really get the national now is the challenges event or the day zero event at nationals.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably out of the cards for me for this year. We'll see where my
Well,
life is
also
next year.
they haven't announced what nationals are gonna be. Maybe they'll do it in Detroit. That's right by us.
There's zero chance of them doing that. They've still got California and Florida and New York
we can
and
we can
all
start
like
an email campaign.
yeah,
We can get it going.
yeah. There's too many other big name cities. So,
I mean,
um,
honestly, I think everyone is hoping that they do it at one of the parks.
yeah, I think that would be fitting. Um, yeah, I'm just excited that there is enough hype that these events are selling out. It's sad that I can't go, but I'm glad that it's I can't go because it's selling out, not I can't go because they had to
Yeah,
cancel because not enough people signed up.
yeah. Like it definitely showing a good. People are really excited for the game, and I'm very curious to see how these events are gonna go. So the
Yeah,
one in Georgia, it gonna be the set. They always said that the new set not gonna be in it, so it's
right.
gonna be the same meta. But the
Well,
next set,
yeah, mostly the same. I'm sure
yeah,
people are gonna take all of the data that they can find from the set
yeah,
championships and try to
yeah.
iterate on it. But yeah,
So it's gonna be a very well tuned, defined meta. People are gonna be familiar with the gags. People are gonna be familiar with the cards. The Saga one might be like the Wild West because people aren't gonna really know what's going on. People are gonna have crazy gags. People are not gonna have a much experience with the card, so they're gonna be a much more interesting playing field.
mm-hmm.
And my money is so we're probably gonna see a lot of aggro gag doing really well, and we're probably gonna see a lot of the people who've been playing control. Them some of them are gonna figure out how to properly use control in this set and do really well.
Yeah.
If there was magic, I would say a my money would be on the mono red gag.
Oh yeah, it's just
Um,
the hit face to win.
yep.
Scott, when Matt was talking about the Wild West, were you thinking that what I'm thinking that Matt's gonna take a broom deck to Chicago?
Matt wants to take a broom deck to every tournament.
So I'm excited for runes. I'm gonna see how they go. My plan is I'm gonna try to build a boom deck. I'm gonna play as much as I can and see how I feel about it. I'm also going to take the deck I used for the set championship and try to tweak that a little bit for the new set.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to see which of the two decks I feel like is a better deck or I feel more comfortable playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Boom is very much my play style, and I'm very excited for that deck.
every set, it's like more brooms.
Yeah, I would actually be lucky and actually got a ticket to the Chicago event.
Yeah.
With like Mike was saying, like it would have cost me way too much money to travel down to the Georgia event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and time because if you don't fly, then
Mm.
then it's like a full day of driving, and then yeah, if you want to be prepared for the event, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm excited for the events that are coming up. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Atlanta event goes, and I don't know. Have you? Oh, Mark from he's going to be going to the Atlanta one. He said so.
Yep.
It'll
Yep.
be interesting to follow up with him and hear what his experience was with that.
Yeah. Hopefully we run into him again because I don't have a contact information. I don't know if you do.
No. I think I am a notoriously good Facebook stalker, so I'm sure I can find him. Yeah. So.
Stalking is wrong.
Stalking it's only stalking if you're consistently doing it. I'm just like, oh, who is this person? Oh, okay, this is what they put out about themselves online. Okay.
Facebook talking and not real talking. It's when you take it out into the real world it starts getting problematic.
Oh man. All right. Enough of my nighttime confessions.
Yeah, this is the latest I think we have ever recorded an episode so far.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. I don't mind it. We'll see how I feel tomorrow morning, but
I am not going to be happy in the morning about this. So,
Mhm.
uh, so
okay. So, you guys have gone through the tournaments now. We've hit the highs, the lows. How do you guys feel about the actual program setup using Melee?
hmm,
So me may have issues. Cause one of the things I heard when they announced that Miwei was going to be the official king, Magic players have dealt with. I saw them being very vocal against it in Lorcana.
hmm,
Um, I think like I think so. I think the whole how it integrate with players, that players can register online, players can use it to find tournament, player can report match results. I think this is all good concept, and I think that the website that need a lot more development. Because we had when we went to the challenge event, they had an issue where the people that dropped, they couldn't get them to drop in round one. Um,
hmm,
so like they had to, yeah, there ended up being like 6 buys in round one. That they had to quickly fix.
yeah, yeah. It should never happen in Swiss where you have more than one person having a buy.
Yeah,
So that was like really frustrating. I don't run tournaments, but I can imagine that kind of like stress that you have. You're trying to not be there all day yourself because you have to, but our tournament started at 10. And what time did you finish, Matt? It was like 7:30.
yeah. No, I walked out about 7:05.
Okay, so I mean it's a long day, and um, so just dealing with extra frustrations on top of it that make it longer. It's annoying. Um, I don't know if there's a better alternative other than like you have kind of a paper and pencil kind of thing, but like there's tons of problems with that and people doing it wrong, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, I think the concept is great. I think it definitely needs a lot more work. Um, and like creating a money event on it, like every once in a while you just run into issues and bugs. Like I haven't ran a tournament this big, so I haven't had it as big of an issue. But I had like a lot. I've had issues when I first started with the software, um, getting the event and stuff going. Like I was teaching God how to use it, and then while I was teaching him, I could not get the testing to. It like it had a specific test game mode, but like in the test game mode, they make it like manually pair everyone. There wasn't like yeah, I had itchy teeth in car, so like the software definitely need to be a little bit more user friendly.
yeah, I think it meets the bar for your local leagues and maybe your smaller 1K tournaments, but anything above that, I think tournament organizers should be ready and have a backup plan in case things don't work well.
Oh, also, because I had to do that when you cancel an event, you have to you did not a match email button. You have to email everyone individually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So when I had to cancel a 30-person tournament, um, due to us not getting the thing, I don't want we want to go to that on the podcast. I had to manually email each individual person. I'm pretty sure some people got multiple emails because I could not remember if I got them or not. And then to
mm,
be tape, I sent them another one.
well, thanks for sending me that email only once,
Yeah.
but yeah, 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 that was unfortunate. But I agree that I heard about that too before that you had to do it individually. I was like, it's so weird. Like, why can you not communicate to everyone in the tournament at once?
Yeah,
Especially, yeah.
and another thing too with like if you try to do a delay registration, um, they won't it won't tell players that your registration is not open. People see the event and try to register and get an error message. That was another issue I had.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up opening my registration early because I got tired of dealing with people like saying like, "Hey, it's not letting me sign up."
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was checking like every like 4 hours or something, and I was like, oh, I wonder if registration's up yet. I could have just asked you, but I was like, yeah, I'll just. And then the next time I checked, I was like, 13. I'm the 13th person out of 16. Initially for the cap, and I was like, oh man, I almost didn't make it into my own league.
That
Uh,
and again that is the benefit of me way. It's a lot easier for out of town people to like just search and see stuff.
yeah,
So that is a good aspect of it. It's a great opportunity for people to find other local events and to sign up with them early.
Yeah,
Um,
rather than having to
but
scour Facebook or something else. Yeah.
yeah, but it's still kind of buggy and it still has some issues. And the fact that like the people can enroll and then not sign up, especially when like event that teach limited, like kind of feel bad. Also,
Yeah.
like Melee that also does not do a good job of telling people they're on a wait list. It's kind of up to the store to edit the status or wait list and let them know and communicate that.
Mm. So overall, 2 stars out of 5.
Yeah, I think two is a fair number.
Like, yeah, they do some things.
Like
It does a job.
I've used war software, but I definitely think like there's a lot more they could be doing.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the question is, what does Ravensburger or anyone else pay them to use their software? Like, do they have? Maybe they just need to, I don't know, pay some people to get better.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what kind of contract they have. I don't know if it's that Ravenberg giving them money or if they're like giving Ravenberg money.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So, uh, what's next on our list, Scott?
Thoughts on choosing to draw? Um, I know we talked about this beforehand. This is when a players in the tournament decide we're just going to call this round a draw without even having to play the round.
Mm.
So we already discussed this, but let's hear each of your thoughts on it again.
so now after doing a tournament and actually being in a position where I had the option to do these intentional draws, like my you should not. It wasn't king. You should not. I don't think they should be allowed. But if you are in the situation where you have the option to do this, there was absolutely no reason not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially since like your opponent had to act you, and it basically that like when I won my first 4 games, and so in round 5, my opponent actively we wanted that to draw, then we both were undefeated so far. We're basically guaranteed if we did draw the next 2 rounds, we are guaranteed a spot in the top 8. And since he asked me, the ball is in my court because if I say no, we have to play. And at that point, I am either risking my chance to be in the top 8, or I am deliberately potentially knocking him out from getting top 8. So it just
Mm-hmm.
and when you look at it, put it um in the face and be like, no, I want to like try to knock you out. Like that feels mean.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if you went 4-0 and the other person went 4-0, you should both hope that out of the next 2 matches, you should be able to win one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, you're because of the way Swiss works and your strength of schedule, like each round you're playing stronger people the more wins you get. So even if you went 4-2, you probably like both you and him should have still been able to make top 8.
Yeah.
Maybe not if maybe one of you wouldn't make it, but obviously both of you can't go 4-2 because one of you would have gone 5-0 and the other one would be 4-1. My thought about choosing to draw is the intentional draws. I feel like mess up with kind of the goal of the tournament,
Yeah.
and so the
They,
idea of a tournament in most tournaments isn't to determine a perfect ranking of all the players, but it is to determine who is the best or maybe the best two. Because when you get down to the bottom, like most tournaments, it doesn't really matter who's 25th versus 27th. Like they kind of all get pooled together, and there's not enough games that happen to really determine a perfect pecking order. So the entire rounds of Swiss are meant to really kind of bubble up to the top the best players. So with the luck that you talked about, Matt, when you are playing against maybe you're playing and you dodged 2 really hard matchups that were in the field and you got lucky, but you won your first 3 or 4 games. when you intentionally draw, right, you're kind of riding that luck. You're increasing the amount, or how do I want to put this? Basically, if you were to play 6 games, you would have a better chance of knowing really where you stand and whether or not you deserve a spot in the top 8. Whereas if you play 4 and then intentionally draw the last 2, there's a higher chance that you or somebody else who did the same thing uh, ends up in the top 8 when maybe you quote unquote don't deserve it because in head-to-head matchups you wouldn't have done as well.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah.
essentially like you rolled or you flipped. Flipping a coin isn't the best example, but you flipped a coin 4 times in a row and you got heads each time, and then you're like, oh, I must be a great coin flipper. And then you intentionally draw the last 2 where it's like, oh, if you flip the other 2, you still have 50-50 chance, but because you're flipping it more often, you're giving yourself more chance to understand what your true position should be within that player base.
Yeah. And like, it feels bad when you like round 1 you lose, and then you do really well the rest of your game, but because the person that beat you ended up taking a draw, that weakened your trinket schedule, and you end up just at the cutoff
Yeah.
for the top cut. And like I've been in that spot before, and it feels bad.
Yeah.
Um,
So what would you propose an alternative to this would be? Just say you
honestly,
can't do it?
yeah, you can't do it. You have to play at least one game.
I mean, could people both just agree to slow play, like without saying anything, and then have it go to a draw?
People could, um, and yeah, but honestly, at that point though, it could. Yeah, I think what Ravenbrook are doing with the 2 game system, and could potentially make that a little bit better, and that to affect the point system. Um, I didn't really think about that, but I feel like that's harder to could consolidate, because like, yeah, you're like, okay, we're gonna attempt to show play, and then one person like, I actually have a really good hand, I think I'm gonna do it. But also, like, if you guys decide you attempt to gonna to throw play, and then you're just like, oh hey Judge, he's playing for time, or he's throw play, and you just like crew over your opponent, like,
Yeah, that's true. That it invites more opportunities for people to screw each other over.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I've heard that Flesh and Blood does draws are double loss, so like nobody gets any points. Um,
yeah,
I
and
think that would work.
I want to say, like, I played other games where, like, if you got a tie or a draw, it like weakened you in the crank instead. Like, you're better off just losing, or you're better off, like, if they're gonna become a draw, you're better off having one player concede, because losing is gonna give you a better crank schedule than going to a tie.
Losses are 0 points, but draws are -1.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Like, I think what it was in the game I was playing, losses was 1 point,
Oh, so just like
and then
completing a game is worth a point.
yeah, and then draws with 0.
Okay. Yeah, I think that invites a little weird kind of like
But
trying
that
to
was
convince
a
people to concede and
yeah, that was a 1 game format.
okay.
Um,
I
yeah,
think
because 11-5 winning with the other game I did a lot of events and stuff for. Because those matches took a long time. That was not a bet to free game. That was a one person
hmm
1 game per round.
I think the 2 game format where you basically get rewarded per win should
Mhm.
hopefully solve it so you're incentivized to play the games.
Yeah,
Um,
and even if you lose the first game, you still have a chance to win the second game, and not hurt you as much. So I think, so we might see that. We might see some people being like, oh, trying trying to do like deal with it. So I think Ravenberg just needs to just say no draw, and based on what I saw during the Lorcana cat, I definitely think they are aware of the draw situation, and I think they are working on trying to find a way to circumvent it.
yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens in Atlanta and Lille to see if there are any intentional draws at any point during that. I don't think there will be, but
I think people are going to, but I think part of the goal of this new system is to make the point so close that that the intentional drawing is more likely to screw you over.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
think
just
that's one of the goals they're trying to go for.
yeah.
So, did you guys see any intentional draws during this tournament?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
it
did
was,
too.
yeah, Matt did too, and I imagine the people right below you. There were a bunch of people that were 4-1-1. So I think the people who were 3-1-1. So sorry,
Yeah,
they were 3-1 after round 4, and they won their 5th round. So they played against other people who were 4-1. I believe
yeah,
all of those people intentionally drew. There was one person who was 4-2 who made it into the top 8.
yeah. So from what I saw, round 5, my game was the only one that intentionally drawed, and then round 6, um, 2 games to like 4 people drew. Um, what I saw.
Yeah.
Now, this next question I'm coming strictly from a learning curve for my end, because as you guys know, I'm working on studying the rules that eventually hoping to become a judge. How strict was the tournament on following the intentional draw rules?
Yeah, so when we got close to that point, the judge up he kept reaffirming the intentional draw rules. He gave a big spiel about, hey, you can only ask your opponent once for it. He said he's like, I know it's kind of controversial, but right now the rule says you guys can. So we can't stop you guys from doing that. He kind of like we're trying to discourage, and he's like, if your opponent is unsure about the draw king, act have them talk to a judge. Do not give. He was telling people, do not give them advice because if you give them wrong advice, they can get you. I think
You can
he
get
said they can get you
disqualified.
kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you get qualified by giving wrong advice. So he's like, any rule questions, have them talk to a judge.
Yeah.
So I had some
And
questions about the drawing when my opponent offered it to me. So I went and talked to the judge, and he would very much like, here's what I can tell you. I cannot tell you I'm not going to give you any map advice on whether or not it would guarantee you a top bar. I'm not going to give you any opinion on whether or not you should do it. This is just how it works.
and did you guys have to report that you guys intentionally drew?
Yeah. Miwei had a button that did not work for intentional drawing, and then also we had math strip where we wrote that down on it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was not in a position to intentionally draw. I drew my last match just because of time, but yeah, it was not worth anything either. Neither of us were close to prizing, so yeah, I think the rules were explained well. The guy who was the judge and the assistant judge for our tournament seemed relatively or very knowledgeable about tournaments in general, and like the guy had been a Magic the Gathering judge for almost 30 years, so just very experienced with the kind of tournament formats, but not as experienced with the game of Lorcana itself. Uh,
I think I found him on Facebook, so I'm definitely when we'll kind of actually get a judge program going. I'm thinking about reaching out to him, to get him on the podcast
mm,
since he been judging card games since the '90s. So
yeah, he's a fun guy to talk to. Matt and I were talking after your top 8 first win,
oh my,
and we
so
just yeah we were
I
having fun.
yeah he did cooking here. I felt like he should not have. So the after I beat the top 8, I went 2-0 with my first opponent. And I beat him. We were done in less than 30 minutes, or about the
Oh
30-minute
yes,
mark.
yeah, very fast.
And I was across the room from the judge, and the judge yelled out, "There's no time limit this round. You did not have to beat him this early." And I'm like, that cannot make my opponent feel good. Like that not like I I laugh, but I'm like, that not might not be the best thing to say to a guy who I just beat out for a $700 card. Because honestly, the most stressful round is that first round in the top 8 because this is you're getting the call or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because like after like my then my next round after that, we were just like relaxing and we were just like, yeah, man, we got the good pride now. So all that left is the play match. And we were just like relaxing the first game. And like, yeah, the play match would be nice, but it's not a big deal. And then like that ended up, I think, going to like game 3. And then we were just like, the play match would be really nice. And we got really intense for the first game. But
Yeah.
we're definitely like a lot more relaxed after that, after the round that determined whether or not we got the tip.
Yeah. Yeah, I think side commentary from judges can be a little harsh, especially when you're that close to like, real pricing. To be fair, store we went
Well,
to did do pricing, like store credit pricing, so it's not like the person who got tied for 8th or whatever, got
also there was some Thai
nothing.
commentary during the championship fight. So the championship fight was just literally the guy I was playing against, the judge, and the store owner are literally the only people left in the store in this point. I think the store is actually closed, or the door's locked. Um, and so after I like beat the guy round 1 and was suffering, the judge was like, "Man, that was nasty research the crux in." And then the store owner was up like, "Yeah, like Matt definitely made the better meta choice. Like I knew early on when I saw what deck he was playing, what deck everyone else was playing, he was running away with it." And I'm just like, I appreciate the compliment, but my opponent who just lost one game, who've been playing all day and been trying to hold it, and were very proud of the fact he did not intentionally draw any matches and got this fall,
Yeah.
have to be that's adding extra nerve to them. And I felt like that's not nice. Like they need to focus on the game, and this is definitely probably not helping any type of team attitude.
Matt, you are too kind of a human. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate it. It is good to hear that too. I think maybe it's easier because I wasn't in the stressful situation. Um, but yeah,
Well, I mean,
the
I've been on the other end of that, where like
yeah,
you're getting your butt handed to it, and everyone like talking at the guy beating you, and you're just like,
well,
I still have a match to play.
yeah. I mean, but to be fair, if you want to if you want to pretend like you're in the other person's shoes, there's stress on the like, okay, well, I'm down a game already. But what the store owner was saying was like, you know, your your choice for a deck was very good against the people that brought the more control, or not as fast, or not as or basically against the decks that were out there in the pool. And so if I was in the losing player's position, I would say, oh yeah, like, look, this is just a hard matchup for me. Like, I can shift the blame to my deck and my deck
Yeah,
choice, and not have to worry as much about like, oh, I think it'd be even worse if they would have said something like, oh, Matt's deck shouldn't be winning this, but he just happens to be a better pilot.
yeah, I can see that, and like the main reason I chose my deck was that because it was able to on the regular beat the deck that I was having trouble playing against before I made like a week before the tournament. I chain tapped my deck, and I went a different direction. I added all the discard stuff, and I went way more low to the ground aggro.
Hmm. Just play good cards. That's all you need to do. Yeah, no,
It
I still haven't played your deck head to head, but I'm scared when we do.
Yeah, like I have pretty much decided after playing it for a little bit. I'm like, this is not like a deck I'm bringing to like local night.
Yeah,
Like I'll play the deck on Pictoborn, I'll play the deck in a competitive setting. This is not a friendly game deck.
yeah. Kind of reminds me of like land destruction in Magic the Gathering. Like, it's just no fun for the person on the other side of it.
And that's what the judge was comparing it to. And he said it, the deck reminded him very much of like a lot of the early days of Magic competitive decks.
Mm,
And like, yeah, a lot of my games that end up in my opponent the top decking because I did get rid of their hand.
yeah. Well,
All right, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, choosing to draw. I think it needs to be fixed, but ultimately, if it's there, use it. If you can work out the math, like it's the there's no. I don't think there's a moral quandary necessarily, but it sounds like Matt, the guy you played against last, was very proud about not choosing to draw any. So I don't have anything against anyone who wants to play every match either. Uh,
It
I just think, like I said, if if you're confident in your playing ability and your deck choice, like you should have no problem playing a game, a not intentionally drawing. But if you think that you got lucky getting, the first four wins, like intentional draw the heck out of that, because you can kind of like ride your way to top 8, and then you only have to win one to get your stitch.
But also that like, hey, we've been here for 4 hours at that point. It'd be nice to have a break and actually eat, or
Mm-hmm.
like the one thing like there's no point about praying other than the two. At that point, it's just potentially knocking someone out of the tournament or knocking someone out of the top 8. So if we have the option not to risk that, there's no reason not. Basically, the tournaments are set up now that there's no reason not to potentially draw if
Yeah,
you are high enough a read. And so I think you have to change the tournament structure to get rid of it.
the way you're describing it just reminds me of like a philosophy problem. It's like, it's much harder to like wrong someone who's sitting right in front of you. But if you were going to compare that same wrong to someone who's sitting across the room that you didn't talk to or meet or handshake yet, you're like, whatever, I'll intentionally draw.
And well, that's it. It's basically like, do I not draw and basically hurt the person that I'm sitting right in front of, or do I draw and I hurt the person that I talked to like a couple hours ago?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, ultimately, like, yeah, I think if the purpose of Swiss is to really find the top, 8 people to compete in a single elimination, bracket, there shouldn't be intentional draws. Uh, just you're allowing variance or randomness to have a much bigger influence if you have intentional draws in that system.
All right. Any final thoughts overall on the tournament experience as you guys played over the tournament weekend?
I saw a wide variety of deck, and I would really happy to see that. I felt like this set had been a lot more rock paper scissors. And I'm glad they waited until into the Inkland to do the challenge event. I felt like this was so far the best that we've had competitively, and I hope this trend continues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah, I would agree with Matt. The deck diversity was great. Even when I went into losers bracket, um, there was a Ruby Amber villains deck I played against, which was pretty cool to see. Like just an off meta rogue deck. Um, yeah, I think I played 5 different decks out of six rounds. So
Yeah,
that was exciting.
I had no mirror matches with, but I definitely heard that there was someone out in the tournament playing the same color combination as me. I did not play against someone a Tail Strongyak, but there was a person in the top 8 that did have a Tail Strongyak. Um, my pre-matches after the top 8 cut were not the same deck,
Mm-hmm.
so that was good to see.
Hmm. Well, then we can go ahead and switch on over to our card of the week. So tonight's card of the week is Mufasa, Betrayed Leader. This is a 5-drop inkable card. It is a 3/3 Storeborn Mentor King. He quests for 2 lore, and he has the ability called The Sun Will Set. When this character is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card, you may play that character for free, and they interplay exerted. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. And the artist for this card is Stefano Zanchi. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but so before we get into how this lines up with the movie Mufasa, what are your thoughts on the card?
I think it's a fun card, and I really like, and that's probably why I picked it this week. Well, I really like how they call it got a deck bait around it, and partly because of how good the target removal is in Ruby and a lot of good Kogak, that a lot of people are playing this as a way to get big stuff out. And I've always enjoyed creatures heavy stuff. So having a deck that basically the purely creature that to always get hit trigger and try to get him out quickly as possible, I really enjoyed. And when I popped it in the tournament, I immediately went home. and started working on them about the deck that because I enjoyed seeing it so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a fun card that people underestimated the power of when it first came out. So I mean, this was a not into the Inklands. This is a Rise of the Floodborn card. So it's been out for a while, and people, built some Mufasa decks from what I could tell around it, but it just, yeah, it never was like a best deck that people were talking about a lot. However, anytime you have a card that is, I mean, this is essentially a 2-for-1, meaning you get 2 cards for playing one. It's kind of a reverse 2-for-1. Um, typically you say 2-for-1 is like why one card can take out 2 of yours. Well, this card takes 2 of the opponent's card to really effectively get rid of, unless they have a Let It Go or a Hades to put it into your Inkwell. Yeah, I actually just opened one today, so thought it appropriate. Yeah, I don't know. I think people who play it, that from what I've seen, they tend to put it in a deck that has 58 characters or like 60 characters. And I don't think you need to go that hard on it. I think you could probably have a deck that has 45 characters and it'd still be great, and have some more actions or spells or items in your deck. But I get it. You want to increase his opportunity to hit something every time he gets banished.
Well, lore wise, we have Mufasa, the king of the lions. He is surrounded by the hyenas as they are coming in for the kill. And like I said, this is a Storyborn card. It comes directly from the Lion King movie about how Mufasa was betrayed by his own brother, with the help of the hyenas. And when I take a look at the special ability, I put it in regards to the movie. We have Mufasa, the great king, who was betrayed, and he was replaced by his son Simba. And that's what this card is doing. When Mufasa's betrayed or banished in the tournament, he gets replaced by his successor, which is exactly what the storyline of The Lion King was.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. But also, like, if you want to be more movie accurate, they just have like a turn delay. Like, yeah, in like 5 turns, you can then play a character for free.
I mean, it comes into play exerted, so you can't use it.
That would get just way too confusing.
Yeah. I actually, when you were talking about that, Scott, I just realized, yeah, that you can see the hyena shadows. I don't know how I'm so oblivious to the art on most of these cards. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a lion. Okay.
Oh my god. Speaking of oblivious to stuff on cards, like, I've been playing Gyro Gear since the set came out.
Mm-hmm.
It only was until after I watched the DuckTales TV show and then played it over the weekend like last Friday when we did all weeknight, and I was actually looking at the card. I'm like, oh, the little light bulb buddies are on the card. Never registered beforehand that the little light bulb had arms in that and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Well, final thoughts of the night?
I think that's it. I think we can call it there. I think it might be one of our longer episodes.
Yeah, I think we had a lot to talk about. Again, congrats to Matt for a tournament well played. I think I would be lying to say that I didn't like take someone personally, like, oh, I wish I would have done better. But ultimately, in any kind of tournament like this or anything else, like, you can always try to compare yourself to everyone else, but everyone else has different circumstances. Some people have played, trading card games forever, and other people have way more time. What you can do, though, is compare your performance today to your performance tomorrow or the next time, and that's really where you should be putting your like how well you think you did. So there's only going to be one winner or 4 Stitch earners per tournament, so I wouldn't get down on yourself if you're like me and you scrubbed out of your tournament. There's plenty more to play in, and if you get a higher place next time, like, you're improving. And even if you don't get a higher place, like, just compare how you played. And
and that is dependent. Really, just how you feel, and you feel like you did good. And, like, honestly, I learned more on how to improve my play style and how to improve my deck when I lose.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But it's hard to tell people, losing's great.
Well, good night, folks, and remember, Aventer awaits.